welcome back to another edition of the Change My Mind podcast.
I won't change my mind because I don't have to, because I'm an American.
Yes, you are, and I'm Wesley Sykes, and through the other side of the ether is the Ryan Dunn to my Billy Brubaker. It's Mr. Nicholas J. Esquire, Cape Leaguer for hire.
This may have been the most insulting analogy or whatever you've done for me in the history of this show.
What do you mean? You're Freddy Prinze Jr. You're
Yeah,
the man.
Yeah, I think anybody who's seen this movie knows. Yeah, you didn't say I was Freddy Prinze Jr. You said I was Ryan Dunn. There's definitely a difference. My goodness.
Yeah, you're nothing but a landscaper in Chatham or North Carolina.
That's not even my problem with him. And like him giving up a home run to Ken Griffey Jr., also not a problem. It's just he's a total bozo with like the worst mechanics I've ever seen.
Yeah, we'll dive into that too. We're going to get into some of the finer mechanical points of pitching and baseball as a whole. But this week, in advance of my 37th birthday, we are reviewing the 2001 movie Summer Catch, starring Freddy Prinze Jr., Jessica Biel, and Matthew Lillard. Pretty interesting. There's like a nice little tandem going on between, some people love when George Clooney and Brad Pitt get together and team up movies, or Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. But Freddie Prinze Jr. and Matthew Lillard, kind of to use a baseball term, maybe like a double-A version of those guys.
That is actually, I think that's a good call, double-A version. Because, right, they did, the only other one that I know of is Scooby-Doo. That they did
Scooby-Doo, and they did a couple other ones as well. Well, She's All That was a famous one too. They did Cape, Summer Catch, and there was a couple other movies. But there was two Scooby-Doos that they were in, I believe.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's right. She's All That. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Nice. Yeah. I didn't realize that they were. I'd forgotten about the Scooby-Doo thing until you mentioned like that they were pairing. So this didn't hit me in that way as I was watching it. But I will say like they do kind of. They work together, but I like Lillard. I'm not the biggest Freddie Prinze fan.
Yeah, Lillard has, because he's wacky and wild, right? So he kind of plays that up a little bit more, and that's gone a little bit further in his career. But Freddie Prinze is like a leading man, kind of a straight man sort of thing. Like, didn't really pan out. He's kind of, just to kind of stay with these like poor man comparisons, but he's kind of like a poor man's Keanu Reeves. Like, he's kind of stiff. He doesn't really have like a whole lot. Like, there's more Keanu Reeves has a little bit more range, but that was, I feel like, his knock for a long time. That he was kind of like a Cali surfer bro who's just like just kind of there. And that's what I get for Freddie Prinze Jr. Good looking guy. Doesn't really show a whole lot of emotion one way or the other. He just kind of like stares into the camera most of the time.
Yeah, but I feel like I think the Keanu comp makes a ton of sense. And I'm glad you put it that way, because to me, things kind of cleared up a little more about how I feel about Freddie Prinze Jr., especially after watching this. It's like he's trying to be emotional, but like he's not great at it. No. And like Keanu's just Keanu. He just does what he does. The only emotion he knows is confusion. That's it. And like, or like pissed off. Like that. He has those two things, and he knows how to do them well, and he makes it work. Whereas Freddie Prinze is just like, at least that's my experience. That's probably more recent Keanu, specifically John Wick. But with Freddie Prinze, it's like, when he gets angry, it's like, where did that come from? Like, there's no buildup. There's no and I get that's the character, and we'll get into it more. But yeah, as compared to Matthew Lillard, like obviously we know who the superior actor is, and I don't think that. Well, we can get into it more later, but I do think there could have been a good movie in this.
For sure.
We can. I think there's a few different ways that you can do that. But we'll get into that more later, I'm sure.
Yes, but before we get into all that and diving into Summer Catcher, because of course it's not only coming up to my 37th birthday, but the Cape Cod Baseball League finals are going on right now as we speak, as a crow flies. I believe the Bourne Braves are up 3-0 currently right now against the Harwich Mariners in the Cape League Finals.
Congrats. That's awesome that they got there. Damn.
Yeah, so it's their fourth straight championship appearance. So the GM, who's been at the helm of the team for I don't know how long, but definitely the last 4 seasons, becomes the first GM in the modern era of Cape League history to go to 4 straight Cape League finals. So
damn. That's impressive. And also happy birthday, by the early birthday.
Oh, early birthday. Yeah.
So I got to say it.
Yeah. So we're about 2 weeks ahead of it, but I'll take it there, and just kind of file that away. Then you don't have to send a text or anything on.
I still do it then. birthday episode. I have to do it now.
Yeah.
So many birthday episodes, happy birthdays for me. Anyways.
But we also have a Cape League alum in our presence as well. Former commie.
Yes.
Nick Fryer.
Commie for life, actually.
That's true.
Thank you very much.
Once a commie, always a commie.
Yeah, I was telling my wife about what we were doing, and she's never seen Summer Catch. And I told her, like, this is like we're reviewing a bad movie, so like you don't need to watch this one with me. But I did explain to her like why I was particularly excited about this and why you were as well, because there's like a perfect combination for you and I of like why we are the people that should have reviewed this movie. Like if you could transport you and I back into 2001, we would be the perfect people to break this thing down in like from an accuracy standpoint. Obviously we can get critical from like the acting and whatnot. So we can cover it all, you and I.
We should have actually been on set in like 99, 2000, just consulting on things, just being like, hey, what's going on here?
You know what? If people when people ask you if you go back in time, what would you do? I would call you up and say, we're doing it. It's happening. And you would know, and we just go back in time and fix this whole shit up. And the reason why I'm saying that, I'm going to go a little bit off on our resumes here. So as you mentioned, like I had a brief cup of coffee in the Cape, also grew up going to Cape games. I was an Orleans Cardinals fan. And then also like covered the Cape in a capacity for the Standard Times. So I have all that going for me. You are on the board of directors for the Bourne Braves, and then on top of that, you've born and raised on the Cape, and then on top of all that, you covered the Cape League as a reporter for both Bourne and for Wareham in different times, right? For different publications.
Yeah, and even Katuitt, just in the summertime there as well. So you kind of did some double duty there.
That's right.
But I forgot about my time doing the Wareham notebook for the Standard Times there.
Yeah, so like all that difference, and I can't believe I blanked on Katuitt. How many times do you and I talk about Katuitt?
I know, yeah. So Bourne beat Katuitt once again. There was actually a contentious meeting between managers. I don't know if it was in game one. It was game 2. It was in Bourne. So Bourne Katuitt West Division Finals. Mike Roberts, who is like the longtime coach of the Katuitt Cavaliers, kind of synonymous with the team at this point, I think. Is out coaching third base while the Cavaliers are up. And something, I don't know if the Braves players were chirping Roberts from the dugout, but at some point, I don't really know what happened, but he play is stopped because he walks over to the dugout and starts pointing at them. And then Landers comes out, and then who is the Braves manager, and they kind of start jawing back and forth. The umpire has to come out between them. Some of the assistant coaches come over from the first base dugout from Katuitt to come over and help Mike Roberts out. And like you have Jared Saltalamacchia, MLB alum, former World Series winner, big dude, big presence, just kind of comes out and this is like tells all the other assistants to go walk back to the dugout. It was like kind of an interesting scene.
He's so, and for context for people who aren't like up on the Cape League, but maybe you're a baseball fan, maybe of our age as well, the name Brian Roberts will ring a bell. 2-time All-Star with the Baltimore Orioles, and I think he played for the Yankees for a second too. So
double
like
maniac.
That was Mike Roberts, the manager of the Katuitt Cavaliers, is his old man. So like that
is that I never made that connection.
Yeah.
Unreal. Oh,
yeah, I remember hearing that all the time. Like, I don't remember when I first heard about Roberts, because I think it was before I was in Falmouth. But like, I came into Falmouth, for those who don't know, like at the end of the season, and then it was like to help out with the playoffs and whatnot. And it was 2 games against Katuitt. Then I'm there for a 3-game series for the first round, and we play against Katuitt, and we end up losing in 3 games. And I heard so many guys talking so much shit. You talk about guys like chirping Roberts and whatnot, like that was happening as well. So that was the only game I got in was actually on Katuitt's field. So that was
low park, probably one of the nicest parks settings in the Cape League. There, we can kind of run through that a little bit. Actually, let's do that right now for the intro question, because this has been such a delayed opening, but. Best and worst Cape League settings.
Oh, I feel bad saying this because I probably went to more Wareham games than any.
Playing field's awful.
Yeah,
that's not a hot take. Everyone's in agreement there. They got to do something with that field.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, it's funny because where I like in the South Coast area, you go and play on Wareham's field, it's like, oh, that's like the nicest field next to like the base, what ended up being the Bay Sox field in New Bedford. That's probably like the nicest field, and it's like compared to the rest of the Cape like fields, it's a pretty significant drop off.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was interesting for me. But I mean, I grew up as a kid going to the Orleans games, so that was a lot of fun for me. But Falmouth was was my home field. So in the end, so like that's my favorite one. And then feel bad saying about Wareham, but yeah, you probably are a little more well versed because I don't know if I ever went to Hyannis or Harwich games.
Yeah, so Harwich just got a new field.
Ooh.
So they get a and have nice like bleachers and grandstand seats, kind of like Katuitt, how they're built up like that. So and they have huge amounts of parking, so they can host like all-star games really well. Which is a factor that I'm coming to learn. So Bourne has done great job of reworking the field, and the school itself at Upper Cape Tech has done a great job of just kind of building everything up around it. So now they have these like retaining terraced walls on either side of the dugout, behind the dugouts, essentially. So you can sit and it's all grass, or you can sit and bring your lawn chairs, or you can sit on the wall itself. And it's like tiered seating all the way, like 3 or 4 rows up. So you don't really have a bad seat. It's kind of like a play on the Orleans Hill. If that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's like a little bit more manicured with the walls and like the concrete and everything. So that looks really nice. The problem with Bourne right now is that the school is redoing the football field. So behind center field, you just have these mounds of sand and dirt, and it's just an awful backdrop for photos. Not necessarily our fault. What's also not our fault is the parking situation. Where Upper Cape is, it's like right over the bridge, right after the rotary of the Bourne Bridge and everything. So, and it's kind of like cut off and on a hill. So you got to go up this like big windy road, and it's off a main road there. So there's only so many parking. They don't want people parking on the grass, like on the school grounds. So they shut down parking. And then you drive down about a quarter of a mile from the school to the Gallo Ice Arena. And they have a bus that buses you up, and they have it going back periodically, like every 10 minutes or so. And Nick, I absolutely hate it. I was there an hour before the game for the first game last night of the Cape League Finals. And I was there an hour before the game. The parking lot was already filled. Jeez. So I couldn't even pull rank. There wasn't even like, I'm aboard of a member. Like there was literally no parking. And it just stinks because it's like there's nothing you can really do. That's like the best option they could do to fit everyone in, because you get upwards of like 10,000 people for these Cape League final games, which is, much more than what these schools or fields like Katuitt or Orleans or anything can really handle. Yeah. So I do love the Bourne field, but my favorite one, long answer here. It's Katuitt. It is Harwich. It is Chatham. Those are my 3 favorite ones.
Chatham's nice. Yeah. Chatham and YD have some pretty nice setups. And I think the other one that's like, the one that should be my home team, like I always have like a soft spot for the Whitecaps, but like I never saw the Whitecaps at home. And that was where like I went to go, like I would visit in the summers growing up. And it's like, but they have no lights. And it is like, I cannot believe like every time that I bring it up with you, how I didn't do that as a kid, I'm always waiting for the day for you to say to me, oh, they have lights now. And you've never said it to me in the 5 years or whatever of this show.
Yeah. I think it's Brewster, and I'm not a big fan of Stony Brook Field either. I'm not a big fan of their jersey choices, their logos and stuff too. I'm just down on Brewster as a whole. But the lights of Katuitt, there's no lights in Katuitt or Brewster right now. So,
Katuitt, not. I mean, we played it in the day at Katuitt. Maybe I didn't.
Yeah, they have games end due to darkness all the time.
Oh, I guess I didn't even realize that it was a day game when we like. I mean, I remember being a day game. I didn't realize the lights because it didn't matter. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But it's, again, Katuitt is just all around nice. That's like a Norman Rockwell painting to me of like 1950s, like perfect Americana slice of an apple pie, like that sort of thing. Like it's carved out of woods. They have a really nice, like structural scheme with green rooftops on all of their like dugouts and like concession stands and press boxes, but everything else is like wood. So I don't know. It just has like a really nice aesthetic to it.
Wow. Yeah. It's, It's so much fun too. If like anybody who hasn't ever done experience before that's in like New England, like definitely something worth if you like have the means to go out there and visit sometime.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, they're free. They're free games.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you got a car and you can withstand getting over the bridge, then that's all you really need.
yep. If you are a baseball fan, it is a must at some point in your life.
Yes, yes. And we're going to get into that a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break, however, for Nick's comic book minute coming right now.
Ah, a superb choice.
So big week in comics, but not because of anything necessarily that's coming out. As much as we do have some big titles coming out. From Marvel, we got X-Men 2. From Image, we got Transformers 11. Falling in Love on the Path to Hell, issue 3. The Domain, issue 3. From Boom, we got Profane, issue 3. But the big thing is TLDR, we're finally doing our 100th mainline episode.
Whoa.
So we do interviews on that show. We do not like count those to like our episode count. So our mainline episodes are whenever we do reviews of like completed stories or trades, maybe it's a first arc of an ongoing story, stuff like that. We're taking Joe and I a little while to get there, but just because inundated with interviews, which is obviously a good thing. But we got a little extra here, whenever we hit somewhere in the tens, that round number, we'll look back on a book that the other guys recommended previously. We're going to do a whole lot more than that in this episode. So very excited. That'll be like a giant sized TLDR this week, kind of like giant size X-Men and whatnot. So that's what's going on in the comic book minute this week.
That's the Dragon Zord, Nick, congratulating you on 100 episodes of TLDR. You and Doc, of course.
Thank you very much.
Don't thank me. Thank the Dragon Zord.
That's perfect.
Yeah, he just wanted to come up and say that there. All right, back to baseball here. Switching back to our main topic. Summer Catch, 2001 movie, an exit survey. Nick, what is the synopsis?
A rich girl whose family summers on Cape Cod has a romance with a local poor boy who hopes to become a Major League Baseball player. Okay, before you get into the cast and crew, please tell me that you wrote this.
No, I did not. This is straight from IMDb.
God, that is terrible.
It's not even really. It's like kind of a B plot of the movie, right?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with Jessica Biel's character.
Yeah,
she shows up early, but it's like, yeah, like you said, it's. Oh my God!
I was very confused. I was like, this has nothing to do with how the movie was advertised. Really.
Oh, that's terrible! Oh my God, I did not see that coming. That is as bad as this movie. That's worse than this movie. The synopsis doesn't do the movie justice.
No, that does not make me want to go see it at all. But we saw it anyway. So this is directed by Michael Tollin, starring Freddie Prinze Jr. as Ryan Dunn, Jessica Biel as Tenley Parrish, Fred Ward playing Sean Dunn, Matthew Lillard as Billy Brubaker, Brian Dennehy as John Schiffner. So John Schiffner is the famous longtime coach of the Kettleers Chatham Anglers now, I should say. But he has since retired, but that was the longtime coach for all the good players, the Evan Longorias, all the really good players. I think Mark Teixeira was Orleans, but never the case. So I thought that was pretty cool. Real life person there, or at least character. Jason Gedrick as Mike Dunn. Brittany Murphy, who was surprised to see her as Dee Dee Mulligan. Bruce Davidson as Rand Parrish. Mark Blucas as Miles Dalrymple. Wilmer Valderrama as Mickey Dominguez. Corey Pearson as Eric Van Leemer. Christian Kane as Dale Robin. Gabriel Mann as Augie Mulligan. Jed Fiend as Pete. Zenna Gray as Katie Parrish. And special, these are two actually uncredited, but I had to add these in here. Beverly D'Angelo is Lusty House Mom. That was actually what she was titled as, which I thought was pretty cool. And John C. McGinley, who plays Hugh Alexander, a Philly scout, who is actually a real person. Hugh Alexander, he was a Philly scout.
Oh, wait a minute. Really? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Not the actor, of course, is what's his name from Scrubs?
Yeah, I'm
lead
blanking.
Doctor.
I'm blanking on who that is. Yeah, yes. But as you were kind of going through that, I was thinking about some of the guys who played for Chatham. Who are some of because they mentioned some names.
Well, I think it was just overall. That wasn't necessarily because they mentioned the Big Hurt Frank Thomas. He played on Orleans. They mentioned Bell, which I could when they were Bagwell. Biggio,
I have
Novar.
I have some of it pulled up right now. So
Okay.
Albert Bell was a Chatham A. 'Cause back then, like back when this movie was made, it was the Chatham A's, not the Chatham Anglers like you know them as now.
Yep.
The Braves kept their name. The YD kept their name, right?
Yep.
But
And Harwich.
Harwich kept their name. But then Orleans became the Firebirds.
Mm-hmm.
Was any
Brewster
of
went from White Sox to White Caps.
Oh, they were the White Sox? Wow, that's
Mhm.
wow. Jeez. Okay. Wow.
Hyannis went from the Mets to the Harbor Hawks.
I can't believe I don't remember that. I remember Hyannis Mets. Yep, I still think of them as the Hyannis Mets,
Mhm.
quite honestly. Wow, that just goes to show you how much like I was never invested in like Brewster. It's just like I forget that they were the White Sox. But anyways, Bagwell, Albert Bell were both anglers. Jason Bay for those Red Sox
Oh,
fans
yeah, sure.
around here. Mike Lowell was a Chatham angler. Didn't realize that one. But I don't want to bore us here because I'd have to keep like scrolling through. It's all in alphabetical order. And there's JD Davis as like a recent name. So there's like plenty of like Todd Frazier. So yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot of guys who spent time with the anglers. And that's just like 4 names.
Yeah, and the going from the A's to the Anglers was probably the best of those team names to change. The
Yep.
Firebirds is stupid. Like the Whitecaps is fine. It's better than the White Sox. Like
It
that's
works.
cool. Waves, there's waves out there in Brewster, Wellfleet area.
Mhm.
Harbor Hawks, I guess, is fine.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say anglers is definitely number 1, then probably Whitecaps, then Harbor Hawks, and then all the way down to Firebirds.
Firebirds. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it really crushed me. Like they're still like I still remember them as the Cardinals. Honestly, of all the only team that I don't think of like as their old name is Brewster.
Oh yeah. And what's
Mhm.
interesting, the Braves got to keep their name. I was asking the GM about this because there was a time frame that they had to change their names due to a lawsuit with MLB for like copyright infringement, essentially. And essentially, what they were able to do is able to keep the name as long as they didn't have any game used jerseys or uniforms or hats or anything that had the Braves on the jersey. So it
Hmm.
says born with like the Native American leaves hanging off of it, or like a tomahawk or something, kind of like the Atlanta Braves. But
Oh,
it doesn't say Braves going across it.
wow.
So that's
Okay.
how they were able to do that. And then it was a good faith effort between the Red Sox and YD, being the state's team, to be
Yeah.
like allow them to use it. And then Harwich, Mariners were a franchise while the Seattle Pilots were still the Pilots. So before
Oh,
they transitioned their name to the Mariners, so
nice.
they were able to get kind of like grandfathered in.
I was wondering how you were gonna explain that one. Okay, that's it. Because the Mariners one, I forget that they kept their name,
Mm-hmm.
but like I forget like the issue sometimes because I'm not in it like you are anymore. But
Yes, yeah.
that's I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Like, oh yeah, they somehow managed to keep it. That's okay. Well, look at that. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is
Yes,
why we're
that's good information, and a little bit about it's the actual uniforms. From that time frame, they kind of get updated year over year. But
yeah, because I was gonna say like the A's. When I saw the A's ones, I was like, that's what they wore. That is 100% what they wore, and I wasn't thinking about as much with the other ones. But when Falmouth came on, I was like, I feel like we had like a maroon stripe on our sleeve, and they didn't in the movie. I think, but I was like,
oh yeah, black shirts with the
yeah,
white kind of like band or maroon band.
yeah, like a maroon band, and I was like, I think I was like wrestling with it back and forth because we also had a pinstripe uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like wrestling back and forth. I was like, I think we have updated versions of that, but that's like spot on. Like those are definitely the jerseys from that time, 100%.
The Wareham ones, I'm pretty sure that's like when during Kyle Schwarber's era with like the red, and you kind of have like I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like maybe the spirit of St. Louis type of script. I don't know if
Okay.
that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
that was like an old ABA team, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I
Think
can't
so.
really, but it's kind of I don't know how else to describe it, but that kind of script print that they have going across their chest with like the red maroonish type of jersey,
This this
that
is
was
kind
like
of
Schwarber's era.
this is kind of putting you on the spot. But I didn't catch this, and I thought about it really late in the movie. They didn't represent every team in the movie, right? Like I don't think we saw the Brewster White Sox in the movie, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we saw Wareham, we saw the Braves, we saw Chatham.
We saw the Mets, we saw
We did,
Falmouth.
yep, Yep.
I
Yep.
think
Yeah.
that's everybody that we saw.
Yeah. Because there's nothing wicked to it.
No to it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's right, and it doesn't
Well,
really
hopefully.
match up because most of those teams that are featured are West Division teams, Chatham's an East Division team.
Hey,
So
look at that! Look at that's one of the best nuggets you guys are gonna get. I forgot. Yeah,
of
great
course
call.
there's interleague play, but you were just talking probability here. You're going to play your divisional opponents more than your non-divisional opponents.
Absolutely great call. I am. Wow, that was awesome. All right. So for the box office and critics
Yes, yes.
reception, this brought in 19.7 million worldwide. Now, of course, this is a different time. 2001. It's not the 80s, but at the same time, it's not now. It made $19,000 internationally. That is the
Why
fact that
even release it? Do they release this in like Japan or like
that
Dominican Republic or something? Or like,
that's got to be it. That's got like where else would you like no one in like France is going to give a shit about this at
yeah,
all. 7 million in its opening weekend. All of this on a $34 million budget. So a flop for sure.
yes, yes.
Let's see. It's got a 5.1 out of 10 on IMDb. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, I was really curious because when I was looking on Amazon where we had to watch this, I thought I saw like it was like 4.5 stars out of 5, and that like is IMDb. I was like really thrown. Like on Prime, it looked like it was rated way too high, so that confused me. But anyways, on Rotten Tomatoes, this has an 8/41 split. So
Mhm.
yes, that is single 8.
And that's not review bombing. This isn't like an Acolyte 8 or something.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, and I think
It's
that
a
41
hard-earned 8.
I think, honestly, again, I think both of those numbers are right. From a critic standpoint, I see the 8. From a
Yeah.
fan standpoint, I see the 41. And then maybe that is a little high. We're also higher. But anyways,
Mhm.
53% of Google users like this movie. We don't have a Google score, but that's fine.
Yeah, I think no harm, no foul there. I really love the $19,000 of international money. I love that as a note. That's like the best statistic we could come up with there. So that's awesome. Score and tweet length review. I'm giving this a 68 out of 100. This feels like a bad carbon copy of the raunchy teen college comedies a la American Pie. But Summer Catch is cheesy, features mostly bad sports acting by its leads. And a perplexing romantic storyline, which we'll get into. But I do love the Cape League, though, so I had a stupid smile on my face the whole time, even if it wasn't filmed on Cape.
So you bring up the raunchy teen, like this is something I was going to mention earlier, the raunchy teen like college comedy kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Do you think they were really going for it? Because I feel like if they really went for it, that actually would have been a much better movie.
It feels like they started, right? They kind of start that way with them all kind of partying at Veterans Field overnight. And like every scene is like, I'm sure this isn't the case to the level of degree that we see. But after every game, they're going out to the bar and kind of like boozing it up.
Mhm,
Like I'm sure that happens, but I'm just not sure to the degree that they show it in this movie.
mhm.
So yeah, it does kind of feel like that. And it's like, away from college, kind of summer job. Like I got like American Pie 2 vibes from this.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel like it was there to do it, and like with summer ball stuff, like shit can get fucking wild. Like
Mm-hmm.
you could have done it and done it better. It's just like I don't understand like what but they clearly wanted to do like this was supposed to be a love letter to the Cape in some ways too. So I gave this a 59 out of
Mm-hmm.
100. Feels like like it tries to encapsulate all of what the Cape League is while doing none of it justice in full. It's like
Yes.
I feel like they had an outline for like these are all the things that the Cape League like that happens, like stories that you hear about and whatever. It's like
Mm-hmm.
this thing, that thing, that thing. And they had like 7 different items. And then they just were like, okay, we're just gonna have scenes that like kind of have like loose storylines for each individual. And then that's it. Because like the accuracy of some of the shit that pops up, yeah, like there
Yep,
is
I
some of
agree.
those
Yep.
things are there, but you don't lean, you do too much and you can't lean into any one of them, and then none of them are really done overly well.
Yeah, and they spend a lot of time on the B, C, and D plots here. Like, I don't really care. Like, I guess it's kind of funny. It's kind of a hack job, but the whole thing with Domo and his house mom, like that kind of drags on for a little bit. Like Dalrymple's love for big women, like that kind of goes
Yeah.
on a little long. Like we get some good stuff between the friends, and to kind of show that further. divide between the townies and the summer people, whether that's like the Rand family or the Parrish family or the players themselves, and that divide that it kind of brings between being like the local kid. I get that, but it just like doesn't really land. So they spend their time trying to like get all this other things, when if they just focused on maybe the Jessica Biel love story and Ryan Dunn, trying to make the team, like then you probably have more time to like not just mention those, accuracies that you talked about, but kind of like expand on them a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't. Yeah, they have so many things going on, and like all, like we said, all the elements are things that are like, the only thing was like Dalrymple's like side story was the only one that's like not specific to the Cape League.
Yeah.
Everything else is like an element there. But like the Domo thing you brought up, like I felt like it was funny. And it's like, yeah, that's the thing. Like Brandon Inge is the first guy I think of with that. Like for those who remember Brandon Inge, like from the Detroit Tigers, I feel like he was the aughts, maybe the tens a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's married to his host mom from the Cape.
So, I did not know that. Was that real?
Yes, that is real. I'm not making that up. So that is the thing. Yeah, I feel like they've been interviewed about it before.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I don't remember where he played, but
yeah, keep going. I'll look that up.
Yeah, please do. But I felt like that, like that's the thing. Like that is a thing that guys run into, and like whether or not they want to do it or whatever, that's like whatever. But they took way too long with it.
Born Brave, sorry.
It's Born Brave. Okay, thank you. No, really, he was a Born Brave? It's amazing. There you go. So yeah. So that was like it. I appreciate that, but like you said, it was a little bit too long there. And then there's other things too, like what we talk about with Billy. What was his last name? Brubaker. Like there's stuff with him too. Like we'll pick some of this shit apart as we go along with these exit survey questions.
But I'll give some credit. Miles Dalrymple, Billy Brubaker, and even Mickey Dominguez are great baseball names.
Yes, yeah, they got some. Yep, they got some good names.
Dalrymple, I think that's a real player. Dalrymple is, or at least a real player has that last name. But it just sounds like a major leaguer name. Mickey Dominguez, obviously, but Brubaker too. I mean, that's Billy Brubaker. When you get the alliteration like that just, you need someone like Vin Scully, John Sterling, like those type of like old time baseball guys just say their name. Like that would like really come off their tongue really well.
Yeah, they did that. They got something right at least.
Okay, so Nick, you are a college baseball and Cape League alum here. Rate the level of quality 1 out of 10 of the baseball that was on display in this movie.
Okay, so I know they had some like actual, like, was it pros in this?
I think they had minor leaguers, like with non-speaking parts, just to fill out the team or like the opposing teams. There were actual minor leaguers.
Yeah. Okay. So they had some that were like fine. Like there was a diving play made by the shortstop that like he, like Christian Kane. Like I don't know if that was him that actually made the play, but like that looked like a legit play. That looked like it was like okay. And then like Dalrymple's home run, that looked legit. And I can't remember right now if it was like a stunt double or if we could clearly see his face, but like that looked like a legitimate swing. But
he also robs a home run in the same game.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, that's right. That's right. Because we always see guys jump over the fence.
Yeah.
Rob a home run. That happens all the time. Especially Cape League guys. Like
I know.
Here's a little thing for people. Like Cape League guys are obviously beasts. They're studs. But like every guy has just come off of a long ass season of college baseball. And as much as like it's a good thing to be on the Cape and it's an exciting thing, yada yada, there's plenty of guys who are like, I want to go home. There are plenty of guys who are like, I'm like tired, I'm exhausted, I don't have much more in me, all this kind of stuff. And then like guys still go out and they try and win, they still play hard and all this stuff. Like they'll talk all about like, oh, like I remember playing with guys in the NECBL where it's like, oh, let's lose, let's throw some games, like we can go home. But then they'd go out and they try and shove, and they would. So it's like, there's like, but at the same time, that kind of a play, I have a very hard time imagining that ever happening in any summer ball.
It's definitely a lot. I feel I've seen a couple. The fences are a little bit larger too. They're not like waist high, so that kind of has something to do with it as well. But I remember one catch where I saw a guy kind of going all the way back and just kind of like falling off balance into the fence, but not over the fence. Actually caught that on photograph.
Oh, I'm
very happy about that.
Might have to show me that. But looking at like the like main actors that we saw play baseball, I would, out of a scale of 1 to 10, like long way to get to your question, 10 being the best, I would give that a 3. I feel like I brought up like Christian Kane, the shortstop, like he's like I can't like he made that one play. I can't really count him like in the rankings, but
Mhm.
the best one from what we saw from like how he moved around the field and everything was definitely Dalrymple. I mean, like he looked good making that catch over the fence. Like he looked like he knew
Mhm.
what he was doing. And as much as like it was a routine fly ball that he caught at the end of like the first game, like he looked fine doing it. He like there are plenty of times you can see people who don't look like they know what they're doing. And then his home run looked legit. So I'll give him that. Then who is the ace again? Van Leemer?
Van Leemer. Yep.
Like, I'm not saying he looked like I wouldn't think he threw gas. Like he definitely didn't, but like he looked like a pitcher. Like he actually looked like
He was tall, athletic, and like his windup and mechanics look, at least again from my like fan perspective, looked pretty sound, and they didn't cut away, which was the big difference from Ryan Dunn and a lot of the other guys, is that
huge.
they actually showed him releasing a pitch,
100%.
which I think shows to the confidence that they had in like looking legitimate, which is more than they could probably say about Ryan Dunn.
Yeah, I mean, they also never had their closer throw. That was another weird thing. Like we never best closer in the league. You never have him throw. He must have looked worse than freaking.
That's a great point. They like he has like a reoccurring role in it.
Yeah, he does. Like he is definitely a side carrier, and that's a whole other thing. I didn't even think about that. That's a note I'll make it later on. But like, okay, so Mickey Dominguez, Wilder Valderrama, he had a diving catch, which maybe wasn't Wilder Valderrama making it, and then he had like a little, I think it was a bloop hit, if I'm not mistaken. He looked fine, like whatever. Like, but then you get to Matt Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr., and it's like a pretty significant drop. I feel like with Billy Brubaker, Matt Lillard, it was like, he's not good, but like I could see maybe he played in high school, but he still wasn't necessarily a good high school player based on what I saw. Just all arms with his swing. That was the big one. And then Freddie Prinze Jr., man, like, so okay. There were I would say two major things that jump out to me. I know when you and I were talking before, he's stiff, and yes, that's definitely a thing. But the two things that jump out: one, he has the shortest fucking stride I've ever seen in my life. There is not a chance in fucking hell that dude's throwing 96. The only like I'm not saying every guy in the world has to have a long ass stride to throw hard, but like it's much more of an exception. Like Justin Verlander has a shorter stride, but he's still like 5 feet in his stride. Randy Johnson had a short ass stride, but Randy Johnson was a fucking freak. This guy's not Randy Johnson, so it doesn't make any sense. So that's one. And then the other one, which is probably the most egregious mechanical thing that we see in all of this, has nothing really to do on an impact of somebody's velocity. But if you guys watch it, you remember how, like, okay, Kurt Schilling back in the day, right? He was a guy who would come over his head, and it's not like Paul Bird style. It's just like a little bit over his head. That's how, like when he's doing his rock step. I did that same thing towards the end of my career when I would throw out of the windup. When Freddie Prinze Jr. throws, he does like a halfway, like over his head thing. He doesn't, he brings it up to like the side of his face. Now, if he was out of the stretch and did that, okay, that's normal. But like out of the windup, it made no fucking sense. It was so distracting for me. And then on top of that, there is a moment where they do an overhead shot. Couldn't have been Freddie Prinze Jr. because that guy actually went all the way over his fucking head. Like, so I don't know what happened there. That's a like an editing mistake or whatever.
That's a good point when you say out of the stretch like that, because then he would be just completely susceptible to steals because it would be such a delay and an easy point. Once you kind of come up here, you know, you're kind of dictating your pitch at that point, at least to the runners, right? So that kind of like signifies you're going to the plate.
Yeah, yeah.
Or at least maybe allows them an extra step, as you know, if you have that extra motion in there instead of just like coming to a rest at your chest.
It's just if you hold up. I definitely got a little lost in there. So like if you're doing it out of the windup, you do whatever the fuck you want. Like if people did that, I wouldn't say shit. I just say it looks gross because it does look gross.
But if it works, it works. Yeah.
But nobody does that. And it's not like I've never ever in my life seen that. And I've seen like plenty of dumb shit on the field. I've done plenty of dumb shit. That just doesn't make sense to me. Like that's all it comes down to is like a practical thing. Like if you're doing it out of stretch, like he's a lefty, so it kind of doesn't matter. I think actually most lefties probably do like out of the stretch, like bring their hands up when they do their leg kick because they're trying to fuck with the guy on first.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
sorry, I took a roundabout way to get there, but yeah.
No, that's interesting there. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. And what's amazing, when I was looking at the research for this, they sent those minor league baseball players to acting school for like 2 months or so, just so they knew not to like look at the cameras. So which makes me wonder, like, how much time did Matthew Lillard and Freddie Prinze Jr. spend like working with baseball players to get some sort of a mechanics down? And then this is
Mm.
the end product.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, like because Freddie Prinze Jr. I feel like he's like one of those kind of actors who like loves the stuff that he's in. Like he loves like those subject matters, and he's like trying to respect that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know. Like
This wasn't a respectable performance, though.
no, man, that's tough. And I mean, like I know not everybody's an athlete, and I'm sure like so it's whatever. But at the same time, I don't know. I just feel like maybe bring in a pitching coach and like have him like help him out just to make him look good.
Yeah. Again, this could be you. You know, this has a job opening right there.
Oh God. Yeah.
Was there a most rewatchable scene, and if so, what was it?
Okay, so I actually have a few things for this. I'm just making a couple notes that I was trying to like make them before. It's just because as we're going through everything, I'm reminded of
Everything's coming back up. Yeah.
stuff that doesn't age well. And again, it's a lot of little shit. But most rewatchable scene. Okay, so Ryan Dunn's dad. I'm blanking on his
Yep.
first
Sean
name.
Dunn.
Sean Dunn giving Papa Parrish the business. Like that
Mhm.
was like yes, like you need to do shit like that. And he did it perfectly. That was
Yep.
great. Very well done. I thought Augie Mulligan's speech to Ryan Dunn, so his tall towny buddy,
Yep.
who like was a little awkward. I felt like at times.
But this was a good moment, though. I agree.
Yes, he did a great job. I got a little like a little like butterflies when he was giving that speech. Like
Mhm.
that's what you hope for, and like that's like what you want in a friend.
Yeah, and Ryan Dunn, real asshole in that moment too.
Yeah, real fucking asshole. But and Augie responded perfectly. And then to kind of like pair with that, Griffey going yard off of Ryan Dunn at the end. It's like it's awesome that it's Griffey,
Mhm.
and like, but it's like this whole thing of like he was trying to get there and like we're doing everything that he could and blah blah blah. And it's like you're there, you made it. Like who gives a fuck? You didn't like there were so many reasons you thought you weren't going to get there, and it's like fuck, Griffey took me yard. I mean, at least it's not fucking Mike Lansing. You know, like it's
Yeah.
a good guy to go get taken deep off of.
Yeah, exactly. You're losing to the best there. And that is cool to see him get shelled in the major leagues instead of like striking out Griffey, right? I think that's an appropriate way to end
Yes,
it. Yeah.
it really was an appropriate way to end it. That's part of why it was like so perfect. It's like people back home like fuck, and like I think it was his dad. Like it won't be the last one either. And it's like yeah, because like you're gonna fail plenty of times because you're
and you're there though at that point. So
you're
it's not like
fucking there.
it's life or death trying to make it. Like maybe to a degree of trying to stay on the roster from that perspective, but
Yeah.
you're already there. So it's like no matter what you do, you're getting kudos at least from the guys down at the Oasis.
Exactly, and that's all that matters. You're a hometown guy. You're not leaving the Cape.
Yeah. So I left this blank, but I think one that comes to mind, and this is kind of like an extended scene, but it's the opening scene with Ryan Dunn and Augie and Pete and Dee Dee Mulligan, all drinking out on Veterans Field the night before his first practice.
Yep.
So he's getting busy. Dee Dee Mulligan's pouring the beer down his throat with their knees. They're getting real sexual. They end up doing it on the bullpen mound where he falls asleep. They fall asleep. Dee Dee Mulligan steals his clothes. That feels like it's like an overplayed cliche. I'm not sure how often that would happen, or in that situation, if she would take his clothes the night, before he has to go to practice. But he comes up with a thong.
Yeah.
And he has to walk into the introductions of practice there with John Schiffner and the rest of the team in the thong. I think that's kind of interesting because I really liked Dennehy's speech in the beginning there too. I thought he was a great coach.
I thought the twist. Well, first of all, it being like his hometown, like it made perfect sense, and it's also like stupid. Like you're gonna sleep at the field, like
so. Yeah, absolutely dumb.
And but the twist of like her leaving her clothes with him, like doing like that's a thing she likes to do, like make guys switch. I feel like that's not a thing I've seen before necessarily.
I don't.
Like,
I mean, I know girls like to wear like your sweatshirts or your t-shirts or something, so it's like a big shirt, but like Not like that though.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it was kind of like it was a nice, like it's a, like you said, it's a thing for like women to take like guys' clothes and like leave them stranded. Like we've seen that and stuff like Seinfeld. Like there's a whole thing like where a woman scams George, right? But
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
this is like that, but like slightly like a kind of a playful kind of twist, as much as it's damaging too.
Yes, absolutely. So that would probably be that for me. And maybe we're talking about speeches. Maybe Ryan Dunn's brother talking to him outside of the Oasis and kind of having to that moment about like, you're blowing your shot sort of thing. And like, he's the one who only doesn't believe in him, but everyone else tries to lift him up and he doesn't take help. I thought that was kind of like a cool scene, kind of in that same cloth as the Augie speech.
Yeah, I would say so. That's a pretty good call. Yeah, except like some of the things that he's like, I did appreciate how he said like, take something like they don't try and blow up by guys every time. I can't remember what he said after that.
Pick your spots, get your curveball over.
Yeah, but the way some of the things he said, it was like, well, no shit, everybody wants to fucking do those things. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's just kind of generic stuff.
Yeah, but there was a lot of that, and there was definitely some contradictory stuff, and that we'll get to that in what age the worst. But I do think that was definitely a good speech. And definitely like had the right energy behind it and everything. Before we get to what age the worst, though, we do have some stuff for what age the best.
Yes, Jessica Biel looked fantastic for this. I thought she was very stunning. Although the role of Tenley Parrish did not age well for me, but Jessica Biel as a person aged very well for me on this.
Yep.
Sean Dunn, I thought he was like was a great representation of a blue collar Cape father who's like a landscaper, tradesman type thing. Like I thought that was like pretty spot on. I feel like I met him, 4, 5, 6 times in my life.
Nice. Yep, definitely a good one.
We mentioned this already. Brian Dennehy as a coach. I was pleasantly surprised to see him there. He also played Bob Knight on like an ESPN dramatic TV series about Indiana basketball. Yeah,
he does a good job, and I do think there are problems with how like with his dialogue, but not because of him. I think it's just what was written was some of this like they're like we'll get to that.
Yeah, but I think he's kind of got that like hard ass mentality, but kind of like boys will be boys too. He kind of lets them go.
He absolutely has baseball manager energy. There's no question about it.
Yeah. Dal Ripple getting shit for dating fat girls. Like that whole premise may have not have aged well by today's standards and how we talk about like beauty standards and everything. But I think we all have a friend who prefers big girls, and I think that is very true. I think everyone's got like someone in their group who does that. So that's where I think that aged the best. But I also don't think he wouldn't be alone these days. I think that from that perspective, he would have a bigger crowd with him.
Yeah, definitely would. I mean, that's like that wouldn't even be a joke now, like in today's age. Like,
yeah, or it wouldn't be as like talked about in the open.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't.
It would like piss someone off.
Yeah. Absolutely, because as much as there would be one guy who's like out about it, like then there would probably be another guy who's like leave him alone, like he's
yeah. We mentioned using the minor leaguers to actually play in the games. This kind of goes to your point, Nick, if you want to take over, but just the mindset and pressures of the Cape League. I thought they got that right. The wood bats, how much money is on the line, playing in front of scouts. I don't know how much the players would be aware of the scouts and how much that motivates them, but
I think so you bring up the wood bats. That's actually an interesting one too. Like obviously, like wood bats are frustrating. Like it's a huge, especially back then, it was a huge drop off. It's less of a drop now, still a drop, but like it was huge back then. At this but at the same time, like the what was it? Billy's reaction. I get Brubaker's reaction, like how he was struggling with the wooden bats. It was like you were striking out, bro. Like it's not a contact. So it's a little weird. I know the balance in the bat may be different, but still, that was strange.
Right, the wood bats aren't thinner.
Yeah, and then the like you're right about like the mindset and the pressure, because I think for me the only thing that I like outside of Jessica Biel and maybe Sean Dunn that I would say ages well from this movie is like understanding what the Cape is to a player and to the people from the area. I do think they capture that essence well, but it's like that they have the atmosphere correct, but like when you get down to the full following through, like they don't execute on that front, because like the scout stuff, I just felt like the way the guys were talking about it, it was really clunky. Like your people are aware of that stuff, but it's not like, oh, there's a scout here.
Scouts
Oh,
12
like,
o'clock.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you have pressure, and like maybe you talk to like your guy that you trust, like especially if you're a pitcher, like being nervous about it or whatever, or maybe you're the manager approaches you about it, like just let it go, don't worry about it. But the way they did it, it was just, I don't know, felt a little extra.
Yeah, and it was what I did appreciate. It's like Van Leemer's talking to whoever in the dugout, probably I think the closer and someone else, and he's like, quit drooling. Come July 4th, there's going to be a dozen here every game, which is true. Everything, like not only in the scouts, but the fan attendance really ramps up after July 4th. So I thought that was
nice
kind
touch.
of an interesting little touch there.
That's a very nice touch.
Also the minor Cape Cod element. So like in the back of the clubhouse of when Schiffner's talking to the team, he has a Dunkin' Donuts box of donuts behind him. That's like very, obviously Massachusetts and America runs on Dunkin', obviously, but nice Cape Cod thing. Sean Dunn is reading the Cape Cod Times when Brubaker comes down after his night with Didi Mulligan. He's drinking from the base. That's the real Cape Cod Times. I remember like the in the zone on the inside, like a C2 or whatever on the inside front cover. That was a real thing. So that kind of brought me back. Let's see the YD Red Sox field. So they didn't really show the jerseys of the Red Sox, but they did do an aerial flyover of the YD field.
Okay.
The real Cape League jerseys we mentioned. The Oasis is a nod to the Red Squire in Chatham.
Ooh.
So the Oasis, not a real bar, but that was like the local kind of watering hole, the Red Squire. Very fun place.
Didn't know that. Okay, nice. Oh, I haven't been there. Maybe I'll have to go there next time I'm visiting.
So yeah, those are a lot of like little things. What age the best? That was a long list, but a lot of little things.
But this is where like the movie can get like frustrating. Like I'm talking about all these like mechanical stuff, but like we see that in sports movies where like guys like some sports are easier to like just kind of pick up and do than others. Like and at least like not look like a jackass. Like basketball, like Coach Carter. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I don't remember any of those guys looking terrible playing basketball. Like
no, at the time I bought it.
Yeah,
so, I would have to go back and watch it to see. Yeah,
I'm like my mom loved that movie, so I probably will at some point down the line. I'll look at it from that lens, but it's like this is. I do remember Freddie Prinze not looking great. Like when I saw this originally, like he
from the jump, yeah.
So it's just baseball is definitely more difficult to do that with, but at the same time, like the writing with all of it, it's like you guys had so many little things from like a detail standpoint that were good, but then you fuck up on like the shit that really matters.
Yeah,
so that's kind of frustrating.
I couldn't agree more.
So with that, let's get into what age is the worst from this movie. I already talked about the writing, but a couple specific notes for me. So Denny's speech to Dunn, and look, again, he has like his delivery is good. He like I would buy him as a manager 1,000%, but he like his speech, he says like, like we pray that like, someday all our shit's gonna be there. That's not how it fucking works. Like, yeah, I look, don't get me wrong, like you are not gonna like I always tell like the one guy I still give lessons to, like if you throw 30 starts in the season, you're probably gonna have 6 days where you are fucking at your absolute best. That's it. Like you're not like so he's not entirely far off, but it's not like you pray that like my shit's gonna be there. It's like
you have no control over it.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you talking about? And speaking of control, in that same goddamn speech, he says command, control, velocity. Control and command are not the same thing, but if you have command, you have fucking control. Yeah. So like, what are you talking about? Command is like knowing where a pitch is going every single fucking time it comes out of your hand. Control is being able to throw strikes. It's very much redundant to the two. So just like who wrote that? They don't know. They must not know baseball. I don't know. That was so bizarre. And then I forget who the announcer was, Wes, but he's definitely like a real announcer. Like they brought in
he was a real announcer, but he wasn't Cape related. So I wasn't sure his name there. Yeah.
I'll have to go back and find that at some point in this. But he said at one point, and look, he's a professional announcer, but at the same time, pulling the string on a breaking ball. That is not what you say, folks. I'm gonna like here. Okay,
off the table.
You like if you ever hear somebody say that. Actually, I'll stop myself. You'll never fucking hear anybody else say that because it's stupid. If a breaking ball falls off the table and then a changeup is what you pull the string on. So I don't know where the hell that came from. Again, like that one's more on the actor there because
Yeah.
you are a professional at this. Like you tell them I'm not saying that.
I think I heard someone in the press box, not the broadcasters, but I heard someone who was like keeping score, the address announcer, say pull the string last night.
Oh, is it on a changeup or was it on a curveball?
I'm pretty sure it was on the curve.
What the fuck? That's not a thing.
Sure
That's not a thing. Like you, because the curveball, the way it's rotating, like you said, it falls off the table. Like, and then, or like if a guy has like more of a sweeping curve, then that's a little different. But on a changeup, the whole reason it's pulling a string is because it looks like a fastball out of your hand, and then it appears to slow down. Obviously, it's just slower out of your hand in general. But like that's why it's like pulling the string, because it looks like a fastball, and then it's like, nope, you're pulling the string on it back, so it starts to fucking slow down on a guy.
Yeah, that makes sense, because if you're pulling the string on a curveball, you're essentially like, lined up with home plate at that point. You're like underneath the ball, pulling it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense if you're from a pitcher's perspective pulling the string.
Yeah, I'm like mystified, like that an announcer said that. Like I get that, I know that guys in the capes are not pros, but like, Jesus.
Yeah, I hear you. Some of them go on to be, though.
Yeah, that is very true.
I don't know if you saw the viral press conference that just happened this weekend with Deion Sanders.
No, I didn't.
He was kind of like argumentative and like not combative, maybe it's too strong of a word, but abrasive to the media during their team press conference. And one of the guys who, like, local TV guys who was on Orleans a few years ago as a sideline reporter or broadcaster, Grange, something like that. He went viral because his like local TV broadcast, like he like tore him to bits during the sports section.
Oh, jeez.
So I thought that was I thought that was pretty interesting. So it's like that's kind of cool. Also, Matt McCarthy, 98.5 The Sports Hub, former Born Brave.
Oh wow,
broadcaster.
Wow, didn't realize that.
He threw out the first pitch last night to start the Cape League Finals.
Oh,
not great form. He might have pulled the string on a curve during the first pitch. I don't know about that.
Oh man. Wait a minute.
What about
Gowdy? I think it's Kurt Gowdy who it was. Sorry, I was looking that up while we were talking.
I recognize the name.
Yeah, it was Kurt Gowdy who was the announcer. And he called Red Sox games for 15 years. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like, that's not correct vernacular. I don't care that he did it for 15 years. That's not right.
Logistically, that makes sense. I have heard people say pull the string. I probably have said it at one point or another, pull the string, referring to a breaking ball. But what you said makes absolute sense.
Okay, so this is probably, so then maybe in fairness, it's one of those things that is incorrect, but is somehow like found a way to like be acceptable just because like it's
people recognize it, what they're referring to. Yeah.
And they just look at it as more like an off speed thing, and like the changeups drop too, like whatever. And curves get all the fucking glory over changeups. That's a whole nother conversation.
Of course.
So like that, I can see how it happened, but like, no, that's not correct. I don't care what anybody says to me.
What about Boston accents? Let's talk about this here, because specifically Brittany Murphy, who I think goes all in on a Brooklyn accent. Like, it's not even close to a Boston accent.
Yeah, I feel like okay, so let me ask you this, like with the Cape accent, like with Cape in general, do you feel like there's it has like a twinge of a Boston accent?
It definitely does. Sometimes I feel like it's forced. A lot of the kids who I grew up with, I feel like it was forced. It like wasn't there in middle school, and then I go off to high school and don't really see them as much, and then we all go through puberty and everyone's dropping their R's and everything like that,
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, maybe it's forced, maybe it's not, but there's pockets of it.
I honestly, like, I still feel like I see people who like will force it. And it's like, look, I know I was away for 4 years and I definitely lost some of what I had.
For sure. Yeah.
At the same time, I was never like, people like, Cape Father, like it's not, you say like, shut the fuck up. Like nobody really talks like that. Like it's like my mom has a pretty crazy accent, like from like a Massachusetts, like Rhode Island kind of standpoint. I've never heard, like, she doesn't sound forced, but I've like anything more than her, I feel like usually it's kind of pushing it to some degree. So with this, like, yes, like there is like, Freddie Prinze Jr. kind of goes in and out of it. With
Yeah,
his,
he definitely does. It's
and
weird when he goes in and out of it. Like he should have just stayed out of it.
I'll admit when I get really mad, like legitimately mad, like all this stuff we're talking about is just fun shit. But like if I actually
Mhm.
get mad, I'll drop them a little more. Like they're more likely to hear that come out. But that's really it because I talk faster than even you guys hear me. Like that's it. You know what I'm talking about.
But you know what I think you bring up a good point here because I think the Boston accent reflects attitude and maybe aggression overall. You know, like that
Yeah.
would be like if you're describing someone with a Boston accent, that's kind of like the prototypical thing.
Hmm.
So maybe that's like a subconscious way because I'm kind of the same way. Same way if
Yeah.
like I'm drinking a little bit, you know,
Yep. Yep.
especially when I was in college and then would come back to my local friends.
Hmm.
And it's like being away and then getting back together again. You kind of like pick up the accent a little bit,
Hmm.
especially when you're boozing like that. But I think the anger thing is a good point because I think that kind of taps into like what it means to be a Bostonian in a
Yep.
certain way.
Because we're fast talkers too, and then you just start,
Yep.
and it like kind of feeds into that too. Like one thing I definitely don't do is like I mean I definitely do is like cut off the G when like whenever I say like in like
Hmm.
anything that ends in ing. I do a lot of that. But anyways, so like that does make sense for like I could see that making sense for an individual where they don't have as much of a Boston accent and then they get mad like that. And that kind of happens with Dunn. My problem with that is Dunn went to college at Boston College and then he went to Framingham State. Like
Not
he
a
was,
junior college
that's a whole
like
nother
Schiffner
thing.
says.
What
Yeah.
the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like, how do you not? How do you?
D3, but
Yeah, how do you make that mistake? My grandmother went there, like, so I
Mhm.
knew that right. I was like, Framingham. I looked it up. I'm like, when was it ever a community college? Because that wasn't a thing. Like that. What? And it's been around since like 1896. Like, you should be
Yeah.
able to get that right. So,
But they did get the hat.
oh, okay,
Dunn's hat. So he was wearing that on his first day of practice there. So I thought I appreciated that.
okay, got it. Okay, good to know. But yeah, so the accent bit, like, yeah, there was like Augie's accent was kind of like a lot at
Yep.
times. So
Sean or Ryan's brother had a good Boston accent. I thought it
he
wasn't too like
probably the best.
forced or anything, but it was good.
Definitely the best of them all. Yeah, I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that. Ryan Dunn's brother had the best accent of anybody.
Yep.
Um, we've kind of talked about this quite a bit already, but Ryan Dunn's like rage. It just feels like it's
I didn't
like
see it.
it, it comes out of nowhere and it feels so forced. Like you're not. He's. It's like he's. I don't remember how old he was when his mom died, but it
Hmm.
feels like he's a 12-year-old kid and he lost his mom at like, 11 or something like that. He's like a 20-year-old dude. Like, and
Right.
even if you lost your mom in that past year, I don't know, like the rage would, I don't know, be more like present. Like, and I know he's kind of like emo in the whole movie. And like, I, I don't know. It just feels like you're so sad and then like you rage, but there's no even flow between them.
I don't buy Freddie Prince Jr. being like an angry fighter
There you go.
at all. Like he just doesn't strike me as that. Not even in this movie. Like let alone just like in life. But I don't. He doesn't strike me. He strikes me as like a prissy boy, who's like throwing a temper tantrum more than like I'm gonna fight and beat you up.
That's actually a real like he's not like he doesn't strike me as like a townie guy. He's like
Yeah.
he's the guy who's like, son of like this, candy bar heiress and like he's,
Yeah.
fucking stomping his feet.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I think that's what he is. I think he's like a California dreamboat, like
Yeah.
that, like that's like how he grew up. So that's kind of tough to try to be from the other side of the tracks like that.
Quick side note on all of this because we're talking about like him like being like not like a nitty gritty tough guy or whatever. Um, on the note of what's her face, Jessica Biel's family, the dad. I don't know if you remember this, is Governor Kelly in the
From
original.
X-Men 2.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
or
would
X1 or whatever. Yeah.
I part of me wishes we had rewatched this sooner in like the change my mind history because as we've told everybody, like the show is coming to an end at the end of August
Mhm.
because that would be a great multiverse madness
Yes.
individual. Like this was Governor Kelly's family
Mhm.
actually, and then go and kind of go from there.
But he also, I thought he was great casting to play like a rich prick.
Yeah, he did a good job.
Perfect. Yeah,
Yep,
perfect
he did a
casting.
good job. Yeah, actually, great call. He did a really good job.
I like your note here about Dalrymple's teammates having a problem with him mentioning the opinion on their butts.
That's like such a like maybe it wasn't maybe in 2001 in fairness it was like a less of an okay thing. I don't like with guys, but like now, like you'd be weird if you were like, "What are you doing talking about my butt?"
Now, I don't think it's weird having the conversation. I think the way he brings it up is very like out of the blue and just doesn't, it feels like it doesn't fit in with the rest of the conversation.
That is fair. The way it was done, like it was, yes, absolutely. Like it could have been done better. That's a good point.
And I thought that was going to be like a twist later, because when Dalrymple has that big moment where he stands up on the bar table at the Oasis and says, "I love big women. I have a confession to make." I thought he was going to come out and say he was gay.
Yeah, and I mean, if like that, like starting with that butt thing, like that would have made more sense. Like he's checking out his teammates, like okay, like fine, but like it's just, like they didn't like Dalrymple was, as much as he was probably the best player, like in terms of like actors, they're probably the worst written character of the bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and what I mean, baseball of all sports, I mean that's a butt slapping sport.
Yeah,
so like everyone knows.
Yeah, like if like it would have, like if this was written today and they had that thought of like, oh, we're gonna have that, like him make this comment, then they would have gone the route that you're talking about, and then like we would have known. It would have been like, okay, like that probably would have been better. It would have made more sense. Like, but now you start one way and it's like a, I don't know, an okey doke on them. I don't know. It was like maybe they were, but you're not given that enough time to have an okey doke that's effective. So
this movie was filmed North Carolina instead of the Cape, so I hate that. They actually found an abandoned field in North Carolina, and then they recreated Veterans Field, which it fooled me a couple of times because it looked like some parts of the field that like really reminded me of Veterans Field in Chatham. But the problem was they were filming in spring. It's too cold on the Cape in the spring, so they go down to North Carolina. They found that abandoned field, built it up, played all the games there, and then now it's abandoned to this day, apparently.
I didn't know that. Okay. Wow.
That's apparently a popular thing. I think they filmed some transition shots of like the town and stuff like that on the Cape, but like the movie doesn't take place. Isn't like filmed on the Cape.
They did. They definitely fooled me. That's wow.
Dawson's Creek was really known for that too. That was supposed to be, I think it was called like Cape Side instead of Cape Cod, but it was supposed to be a Cape Cod town. But it was filmed in North Carolina.
Huh. So we
very disappointing.
So the only like so obviously you said the transitions, but the from a field standpoint, the only legit field was the YD field,
and that was just a flyover. Apparently, yeah.
Wow.
They might have done like flyovers of Chatham too, but the gameplay was in North Carolina, like on that North Carolina field.
Yeah, because Chatham's field, like they have like no, maybe I'm thinking of YD's field. YD's field was. Yeah, that because that was the fire stations right nearby the YD field, if I'm not mistaken. All right. Anyways, this is like less interesting one, but still kind of weird. Brubaker his average improving from like a goose egg to 300 like over the course of the summer. They don't play enough. I mean, they play a lot of games, but
it's 40 games or so, you know.
It just felt weird. It felt like there's no way this guy's going into that last at bat hitting 292 and then he hits an inside the park home run. Like it just felt like odd. And then the wheels that he has on that inside the park home run, I was like, where the fuck did that come from?
He's too long and lanky. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a catcher. Like, there's no way he's like, I'm sorry. Like, how many fast catchers have we ever heard of? It was like Bryce Harper was the only one, and they turned him into an outfield because he wouldn't be fast probably anymore after enough catching.
You know what I heard? I was listening to an interview with Jason Worth from Part of My Take. So he was a catcher starting out, at least in the minor leagues, and was brought up to Toronto. But I think he was behind like maybe like Jose Molina or a couple other like good shortstops or catchers at that time. But he stole bases, and he's tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
like he got like 20 stolen bases one year. He was talking about how excited he was, but he hated catching. So he took the shift to the outfield as soon as he could.
Jason Worth had 20 stolen bases twice in his career. Yeah. And 19 in other years. So yeah, he could move a little bit for sure. And he didn't get thrown out a crazy ton. But like, it's just highly unlikely. And I know that was a diving. The guy dove on a line drive. So like it's like, and it's right in left field. So the center field is going to be a mile away, but it just felt like he was right behind Domo, which was kind of the odd part of it. But maybe there's bad base running on Domo's part. I don't know. And then his slide into third, I may be off on this because I haven't had his fucking slide into a base in an age. But it just felt like he was really close to the bag. But this may be me nitpicking. Now I have some other smaller ones, but these are like my gems. Wes, do you have other ones before I go off on some of these?
Yes, real quick here. Some of the classic tropes that you get the segregation tropes, the class segregation, coming from the wrong side of the town, the rich girl, the poor guy. That's a little played out. It doesn't, I'm not even sure if it's really like effective in a lot of ways. It just kind of feels like a nuisance, a problem they have to get around. Ripping off elements from Major League Bull Durham specifically, like the shenanigans of Major League, but specifically Bull Durham and Signori Weaver's character with Beverly D'Angelo.
And Perfect Game with him leaving in the no-hitter.
Oh, that's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
So
is that for Love of the Game?
Oh, that might be what it is. He was throwing
with Kevin Costner.
Yeah,
and the Tigers.
That's what it is. For the Love of the Game. Thank you. But like, this is again where it's like, if you want to fucking make it a full spoof, you are already doing it in so many different ways. And the Cape can, like any summer ball can play into that, but the Cape's the most popular one. Makes it more frustrating. Like you had, if they rebooted this, I could get behind it if it's like the right team.
Well, okay. So before I get to that point there, because you bring up a good point, but I like the Beverly D'Angelo character in the reveal at the end. I thought that was funny, but her being like, I help baseball players was just way over the top. Like that was like just kind of like a step too far for me. But I did like the reveal because I was wondering who it was going to be the whole time. And then I was like, oh my God, it's Beverly D'Angelo.
Yep.
But this movie was in development with like 20th Century Fox to have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon starring it originally.
Wow, it probably would have been all.
So we figure what Matt Damon is Brubaker and Affleck is Dunn. Other way around,
maybe the other way around because Damon's.
I was just going by hair color. Yeah,
Damon's the better actor, so he would have probably been Dunn.
But is Affleck the better athlete? And if that's the difference of getting like a more,
I would think so,
character accurate, depiction of a baseball player, if they're like that close in acting. But maybe Affleck or whoever is better athlete.
Look, I love Ben Affleck, but it's not really close who's a better actor between the two of them.
Yeah. What was Batman? Come on.
That's okay, but like
the other one. What about Gigli? What are some other bad movies?
Did we ever do a Matt Damon versus Ben Affleck? And I would hate to have to go against like Ben Affleck. It would crush my soul, but I feel like that's a no-brainer.
I know we've talked about like debating catalogs,
which we have. We have, but I don't
the better catalog where like Denzel, Tom Hanks, or something like that.
I don't know who,
but that would be one of them for sure.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. That was an opportunity missed. But okay, but yeah, like that probably would have been a million times better, especially because they're local. So they would at least have some ideas, or they would know who to talk to. Probably.
How about Tenley just embarrassingly throwing herself at Ryan the whole movie? Like she's just like throwing herself, like she's like all over him. It couldn't be like more desperate.
It was odd.
It doesn't feel like it would happen at all because she's just so hot in that movie.
Yeah, it was odd.
And like he's like not really into it.
There's not really the character development was non-existent with like there's a way in which you could see why Tenley would do that because it's like, oh, I have like, and maybe this is partially Jessica Biel's fault too, but it's just like she's like, rebelling against her old man and against her lifestyle. And then she's on a break with her boyfriend. So she's like trying to run wild and have a good time. Like you could make the case like that this all made sense what she did, but it didn't fall through well on it.
Yeah. It just didn't work for me. I'm trying to think of anything else. How about Dunn even being allowed to play on the Cape if he dropped out of BC and was kicked off Framingham State? He wasn't in college.
Yeah, that's a huge misstep.
He just wasn't in college. And our guy, the announcer, points out in the opening game of the season, while he's like doing the voiceover kind of play-by-play, he says Brubaker has been struggling with the wood bat so far, but it's the first game of the year. Small continuity thing.
Yeah, and also like, to go back to the announcer thing, I understand with movies you want to bring in like a professional. You want someone who's like done it before, all that kind of stuff. But I also think like you should actually bring like if it's pros, do what you want. But this is amateur. I'm not saying you got to go and bring in like a guy who is actually a Cape League announcer, but they don't bring in somebody who like comes across as a professional.
No,
like,
it should be other college kids.
Yeah, like it should, or someone who passes off as a college kid. Like that was but that's, and I understand that's that's another element. That's one of the few elements I feel like they got, like they didn't get it. Like they didn't know what they were doing there. A lot of the other stuff we've talked about, they at least had an understanding of it. But so you got everything.
I'm good.
Okay. Dunn's mechanics. We talked about already. Absolutely terrible. I'm not going to break it down again. Rewind if you don't remember what I said. Van Leemer's glove. I don't know what the fuck that is. Like the flames and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if there were rules back then against that. I know there would have been rules against it now because there was red in the flames. There was like a yellow, blue, and red glove. I mean, I don't know anybody that has that glove. Like there's no way. Like you're a little
But
kid.
he's a hot shot.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, there's no, I don't know. Like, he's a showboat. And also, I ain't never seen a guy. I've never played with somebody. I've never seen somebody ever who had like I have my wedding band and I have another ring that I wear. And I like to wear like Joe likes to call them my fucking bangles. Like, don't get me wrong. I didn't do it as a player. I've never seen a guy wear as many rings as that motherfucker did. Like, that was a player. And I've been in like the Red Sox clubhouse plenty of times. I've been in opposing clubhouses. Like, I've never seen that.
Well, you got to grip a bat or a ball in that case. Like that doesn't just make sense. I get like the chains or like the big earrings because they don't really get in the way.
Yep, guys do that all the time. Like that, 100%. Like we all like, especially like in the Manny Poppy era, like or especially around here, like everybody had chains like that. 100% a thing. And I've seen guys wear bracelets too. Like that's less of a thing. Rings though, like is a very odd thing. Leaving in the middle of a no-hitter, like it's a ripoff of For the Love of the Game. Thank you for correcting me. But it was also like, dude, like your whole career's on the line and your girl's trying to help you. And like, I get like that you want to get her back, but it like your career's on the line. You'll fucking call her and you'll figure it out and explain to her. Like it just felt odd. Speaking of that,
you had to go see about a girl.
Right. Speaking of that, the no-hitter. So the little sister says it and whispers it. Still, she knows better. She shouldn't do that. The fucking head coach says no hitter while he's throwing it. What are you doing? You don't say the word. Like make a whole stink of it. The kid's the one that was like, you don't say it. Like when she said it out loud, her sister. What the fuck was that? Like if you're trying to be accurate,
that's a bad coaching move. Yep.
So like if it was one of his dumbass teammates, or if it was like Van Leemer, like I know he was gone at that point, but if he did it, like he's being a prick, like then you call him out for it. Like that's a good way to illustrate it. Not what the coach did, even though he's not an earshot of Dunn. So that was bizarre. The closer's sleeping all the fucking time. What?
I don't know how that would happen. Yeah.
Well, I mean, guys do weird shit in the bullpen. Don't get me wrong, and we're not paying attention to the entire game, but at the same time, like I ain't never like if you're not live that day, then a guy could take a nap. I could see that happening 100%. I feel like that did happen. Like I feel like guys would like load up, like pile up some bags and like try and hide so no one could see him. It's like it's my day off, so like they would.
I love that. That's great.
I feel like I remember that happening in New Bedford a couple of times. When you're live, what? And we never saw him throw, so that was strange. 96. At the end of a game, when you were topping out at 91 before, and again, like not trying to, I know,
and he's not a big guy either. He's not like got a whole lot of muscle mass to work with. Not
a big guy, and he doesn't have the mechanics that would make him throw that hard. Look at guys who are small, like
Pedro.
Pedro is small. Roy Oswalt is my height. Okay, by big league standards, that is a smaller pitcher. Like I think average is 6'2". Roy Oswalt 6 feet. Pedro was like 5'10".
Yeah.
Lincecum was like 5'9". Pedro obviously like had a huge ass, but like he had a stride. Lincecum had a crazy stride. Roy Oswalt had a pretty big stride too. Like Pedro's was not on the same level as those guys, but they get out there. He's so fucking tiny. But 96 at the end of the game, like we haven't seen him hit 96 ever when he's trying to throw out of his ass. I'm sorry, I have never seen. There's only one person I've ever seen who started out the game throwing slower and then came back and threw gas at the end of it. And it's Justin Verlander, an all-time Hall of Fame pitcher.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know anybody else. I'm not saying if you start the game throwing 96 and then you're just feeling it and somehow you're able to still get it up to 96, maybe pop off a 97, maybe. But when you're 91 the whole game and then you break out 95, 96, that is Verlander. No one else I've ever seen do that. Have you?
No, the only one that comes to mind is maybe early Bartolo Colon with Cleveland, like during those 99, 2000 series, and maybe it wasn't getting stronger, but he was sustaining 96, 97, 98, like late into the game.
And that's totally like, and that's rare, but also very much like with the best big leaguers. Yes, you'll see shit like that. Not 91 to 96. Verlander, that's what it was so amazing about Verlander. Like, no, people be like, I've never seen that before. Well, I guess you never watched Summer Catch. You never heard Ryan Dunn.
What doesn't age well for me, and this is just more of like the sign of the times of current baseball, but Van Leemer goes a complete game 4-hitter in his first appearance. Ryan Dunn goes a complete game against Bourne. Actually, Bourne has like a walk-off grand slam or something like that. But he goes like 9 innings, 5 runs, and his dad is drunk. You know, his dad kind of plays like a two-faced role of like the drunken, like borderline abusive father to being like helpful, but a hard ass at the same time. So he kind of like teeters on that line, but he's kind of teetering over to like the drunk part at that point. He's like 9 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 7K. Like, I don't know. You don't really see guys going the distance anymore. Across baseball, but especially on the Cape League where pitch counts and your relationships with the college coaches are so important that you don't want to burn. Maybe not to all the coaches on the Cape. I think some coaches burn those bridges more than some others there. But, you know, all those things come into play. So for 2024, we had 3 pitchers pitch 6 innings in the playoffs. So the playoff format now is 1-game playoff and then 2 3-game series.
Okay.
So if that makes sense. So the opening round is just a 1-game playoff, and then you have the West Finals, East Finals, and then the championship finals.
That is different.
So that's new this year. But we had 3 pitchers throw 6 innings, which was the longest outing of the year for the Braves.
Yeah.
And 6 innings is the absolute max. If you go 4 to 5, that's good.
And I can hear Doc right now saying, but pitchers like were different back in the day and all that stuff. It's like, well, they would have been on an innings limit then. Like now is the pitch limit. Back then it would have been an innings limit. And even still, some guys might have innings limits instead of pitching limits. It's just, you have college ball. These guys are not used to playing that long in the season. And also it's still at the amateur level. These guys especially are trying to get that payday and get to that next level. So yeah. And also Wes, like from a gameplay standpoint, when like one of the games where Ryan got smacked around, it's like you pull him after he got hit, and then it's like, okay, he still threw 6 innings, 3 runs. Like that's a quality start. I know it didn't exist back then, but like still, like most people would take 6 innings, 3 runs back then. So
even 9 innings, 5 earned. There's a quality level of start of going the distance and like working through the jams that it's like not really as bad as you might think, you know, like obviously the grand slam and like giving up that is like it's tough giving up the lead like that. But I think if you're like from a scout perspective or a coach perspective, you're like, this guy's bulldog, like he battled through, saved us a bullpen for a night and all that stuff.
And that may explain like the Philly scout, like continued interest. But on another note, when you brought up the BC Framingham State thing, now obviously he was at BC and he dropped out of BC, right? That was the whole thing. But he still was at Framingham, and like he comes in with like this like checkered past, and he's in the starting rotation off the rip. Yeah, I don't know. That just felt a little odd too. Like he's not a D3 pitcher, but at the same time, like really?
Yeah, right. Technically, he's not even enrolled into college.
Yeah. So now we've spent a lot of time on what age is the worst, but I have saved my 2 biggest gripes for last. Believe it or not, I have 2 that piss me off more than anything I've talked about so far. So one is the catchers warming up pitchers in the bullpen where these guys are going all out, supposedly, and the catchers are not wearing a mask. That is ludicrous. That is insane. Like you see a guy catch a flat ground, like pitchers catch each other's flat grounds. That is different. Like guys aren't going full tilt. You're like, unless you're an asshole, and guys aren't likely to bury shit. Catchers, like when a catcher's back there, a pitcher's throwing all of his shit. Like he could throw something in the dirt. Like it doesn't matter if he's a pro or like an elite prospect or a scrub. It can happen. This isn't the 1940s. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad there. I love that. So all right, what's your last one here?
So this may be the one that's most specific to me, but this was a real like annoyance. Early in the movie, the majority of the movie, we see Ryan Dunn with his glove. He's got a Rawlings glove, which is obviously like the one that you think of most when you think of baseball gloves. Everybody probably had a cheap Rawlings at some point. At the start of the movie, he doesn't have a Rawlings glove. He has like a Nike piece of shit glove that you get at Dick's Sporting Goods. And I'm not saying that Rawlings was the perfect one either. I didn't really care for it personally looking at it. I don't like that color, but the one he had the same color, but look at that first glove that he has. Anybody who goes back and watches it after us listening to it, I'm telling you, there was like he had something going on around the wrist area, and I think it like you couldn't see the symbol, but I'm pretty sure it was a piece of shit Nike glove. So I was like, what the like when I saw that glove, I was like, why do you have a fucking like stud Cape League player? And again, like I forgot about the Framingham stuff and whatever, but still, it's like, why does this guy have a fucking terrible glove like this? Plenty of guys don't know how to break in a glove. Plenty of guys, but they usually have good gloves. So I was and then I'm like, Rawlings, that ain't right. You didn't have that before.
I would never have noticed that. I love that you picked that up.
I'm very particular about gloves. Like CC Sabathia, like I've always said, is like that motherfucker had the worst glove ever. I'm sure he got paid tons, but he had a like disgusting Nike glove. Lefties don't know how to break in gloves largely anyways. Like fight me, every lefty in the world. I don't care. It's a fact. But like
that's interesting.
This was so weird.
How do you break in a glove?
Well, it's just I mean, there is a level of preference that comes into it, but I always feel like lefties either like get it, like I feel like their thumb, like they get too far outside of their fingers. I'm sorry, I'm talking about like how it looks. Like I'm like, this is terrible for podcasting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, like I can't explain that well for you right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Because I'm curious here. Because as a lefty, I'm wondering what I'm doing wrong here.
Sorry.
I might fight you on it.
I forgot you were a lefty. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't broken in a glove. I still have like my glove from Babe Ruth League.
Okay.
So.
I'm specifically talking about the shape, the manner in which you put breaking in your glove. I have a preference, but that's each their own on that front for sure.
All right, glad we got that off your chest there. Best performance by a side character, it's Dalrymple, right?
100%. Yep. I was stunned though when we saw Hank Aaron. I know you had noted that. I legitimately said like, holy, that's Hank Aaron. Like, what the fuck?
Well, and it's the same thing with the Scout too. I noticed when he popped up, I was like, oh, that's the Scrubs guy.
Yeah.
Miles Dalrymple, though, I don't know if you saw this in my notes. He was a starting 2 guard for Wake Forest during the Tim Duncan era.
That actor was?
Yeah.
Really?
Mark Blucas.
Really?
Yeah. Pretty crazy. Average 4.3 points per game for his career.
Damn, dude. Good for him.
He was like a 46% 3-point shooter. I don't imagine he shot very much, but that's really good numbers.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's impressive. That explains why. Yep. That's why he looked the best out of everybody.
Sean Dunn, I thought was really good. The father again, but he kind of goes back and forth between that like abusive drunk to being like the hard ass dad.
His turn from there on out, he did a good job.
Yeah. And again, I thought he just looked the part of like a worn out blue collar tradesman on the Cape. Like again, I thought like there's like 1,000 of those guys. Same could be said for Bruce Davidson, Ram Parrish. Perfect casting for that. Just complete douchebag.
Yeah, he did a really good job at that.
Who lost the movie?
It's either the writers or Freddie Prinze Jr. I don't know, but it's like I gotta think Freddie Prinze is more of a loss for him.
Yeah, this was bad. This was Jessica Biel's first foray into the large screen.
I didn't know that.
Screen. She was in Seventh Heaven, most notably before that on the WB. But I think this was one of her first movies. So I'm not sure if that's getting her off onto the right step. Freddie Prinze Jr. is bad. I think the writers are bad. I think the Cape League is a big loser in this, even though I love the Cape League so much. But just from how it looks, I remember like Freddie Prinze Jr. came on Sports Center and they did some like promotional stuff, kind of talking about the Cape League and hyping up this movie. And there was like a lot of like that type of marketing, crossover marketing there. And it just wasn't like for people who had never heard of the Cape League and only know Summer Catch, like that's awful representation.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, so in the who won the movie, I did list the Cape League, but like that's just because it was like maybe more people know about it now. But now that you're saying all this, I think
I can see that argument for sure.
Yeah, but like there's really not any winners in this movie either. So that's why it's like.
Yeah, another issue that I had, I'll bring this up, was Augie and Deity brother and sister?
Yes.
Little weird.
They had
he introduces Brubaker when Brubaker's about to go back to California to his sister to essentially like sleep with him and convince him to stay.
They had an odd dynamic, I would say.
But also, when I was rewatching the movie, when Pete and Augie are going for the first game of the season, they're sitting along the sidelines and they got like beers or whatever, and they're talking about Tenley's younger sister who's dressing up like a clam, who I loved her little bit of like trying to figure out what the mascot. I thought that was very cute.
Yeah.
But she comes out as a clam and he's like, hey, didn't Dee Dee Mulligan give me clams once? And then Augie's like, no, Dee Dee gave you crabs.
Oh my God, you're right. That was that's his sister.
And it's like, is that his sister or is his cousin? Like they have the same last name, but he mentions her by like full name.
That's weird. That's really strange. Again, like is it Freddy Prinze or is it the writers? I'd be very curious for these writers if like whoever the lead writer is, what their career was afterwards.
The writers are very bad here. Who won the movie? Again, I can get on board for the same reason why The Cape is a loser. But they're a big winner here too, because it still comes out looking the best out of everything.
Yeah. I mean, because like if some random person, like if I was in, I don't know, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and someone was like, hey, like you're from Massachusetts, like, randomly, and they summer catch, like Cape League. Is that what it's like? I'd say it's a fair, like, so it's a decent representation. Like it's not the best, like, but like it's got the bones of like representing it. I guess it's as good as I could say.
If this would you sign off on a reboot of this movie?
Yes. Like I 100% would. Like the more we're talking about it, the more I'm thinking, reboot the fuck out of this thing and make it a total spoof, or like you could make it like a legit comedy too. Like I think you could.
I think you can even pull like a Friday Night Lights like dramatization out of this too.
Yeah, I remember I feel like baseball really can play itself well to like shows or movies, and obviously we've seen that over the years. Like you have for football, what do you have besides Rudy? I feel like remember the Titans.
Any Given Sunday. What's the Tom Cruise movie?
Jerry Maguire, but that's
no, not even that. But it's like All the Right Moves or something like that.
And then you have the Replacements, right? Is that the yep? And then there's another one that just came to my head that I'm blanking on.
Friday Night Lights.
I'm sure that wasn't it, but there's an I can't remember what it was. I just had it in my head. But a Longest Yard. Yeah, there
we go.
Okay, so football. Okay, so I was gonna say baseball plays really well too. I was gonna say baseball plays really well to it, but football obviously plays really well to it. And basketball. Oh, The Longest Yard. That's what it was. Yeah, sorry, not The Longest Yard. The Michael Orr movie. That's one of my mom's favorite.
Oh, The Blind Side.
The Blind Side. Thank you. So you have all this stuff. I do think that baseball can play really well and might be maybe a better long form, because I just feel like with the bullpen and like with baseball players, because of the nature of the game, it definitely moves faster now with the pitch clock, but because of the nature of the game, there is so much bullshitting going on throughout the course of the game, and with it being a long season, guys dick around so much. I just feel like there's a lot that you can do, and with the Cape, there's like different angles that you can take with this. And if it's like a legitimate, like we're talking about college kids and all that stuff, like there's a lot of dumb shit that happens. And you have college interns that are there, and shit happens when you have like interns around, like, the athletes and stuff like that. Like it's just there. And then the families that we're talking, like there's a lot that could be done.
Well, this wouldn't be, you wouldn't want to do this in 2024, but I remember when I was like in high school and college coming back here, like I remember like there were high school girls who would like get all excited to get dressed up and look nice to go to the Cape League games to try to bag a player.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. Yeah.
Which again, little bit of a different time, but again, like these kids are like freshmen or sophomores. They're not necessarily like juniors or seniors for the most part. They're like first year, second year college players. So yeah, the age difference isn't that big, but
no,
back in like the early 2000s or so, that wasn't as frowned upon as it might be now.
It's not. Yeah, it's definitely like a different, like it's not something that you put on the big screen, but it's like you said, like it's not like the age gap is like not as some things that we see.
But I could see like from, if we went back in time 7 or 8 years ago from now, like I could see like a somewhat funny but serious take on this movie with like a Glenn Powell, a Miles Teller, a Michael B. Jordan type, like I could see like that kind of happening where it's like college buddies. Like what's the movie with Miles Teller and Michael B. Jordan?
The Fantastic Four? I don't
No,
know.
well, yeah, yes, it is. That's not what I'm talking about. But it's like they're
Oh,
friends in New York City, and they're
the
like,
one with Zac Efron too.
yeah, with Zac Efron as well. Yeah,
Oh,
but like
I don't.
that type of vibe where it's like kind of like college shenanigans and stuff
The
like that.
awkward
But
moment.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, that you could do that, and I think you could find a way to do that now. And also, like when you talk about like the like the girl dynamic and all of this, where they like try to play like the serious romance, but they totally botch it there. Like I brought up the interns for a reason. Like you have college interns there, and like
Hmm.
they get. I know of like I remember
It
hearing
happens.
reports. Like yeah, they get involved. Like it is very much a thing. So like, yeah, I would love to see this rebooted, and I would love to have. Of any movie, like we always joke about, like, oh, we solved this, we fixed this. Like this is an actual thing we could probably fucking help with, you and I.
Yeah, I agree. I agree here. Okay, so that does it for the summer catch exit survey. I gave it a 68. Nick gives it a 59. That's a CMM aggregate score of carry the
63.5.
63.5. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
That's
Yes.
that math was way off for me there. So that's available to rent or own on Amazon Prime. But it's $3. I think it's worth the $3. If you have any sort of connection to the Cape Cod Baseball League.
I think if you enjoyed listening to us break this all down, it's a much more enjoyable rewatch. Because
Yes.
I now like could see myself watching this again to look for more issues or even things that they got right in all of this. Which there are some things,
They got some things right. Yep.
but not a lot.
All right, so that does it. Let's shift over to the Discharge Depot, which is leaving the station right now.
Choo choo, bitches.
All right. So yeah, as we're talking about, the Cape Cod Championship League series is going on right now. The Bourne Braves were facing elimination, down 1-0 on the road to the East champion Harwich Mariners. They just forced Game 3, so the Game 3 will be at Bourne Park as a crow
Nice.
Monday. So for the chance to win their third straight Cape League title,
Awesome.
be the only team since YD to do that in like 50 years.
Wow. Jeez. Well, good luck to them. I'm pulling for them.
YD did that pretty recently. Like you said, your brother would have been on the third.
Oh
fourth straight
wow.
championship
Okay, he
team,
would have
yeah.
been on that team. That is.
So maybe you should have sucked it up. I don't know. Glory lasts forever, right? But a torn rotator cuff can heal.
Yeah, that's tough. Oh man. Yeah. But anyways, for me, for the Discharge Depot, Umbrella Academy's final season has been released. It came out like the start of the month, like maybe the 4th. Almost done with it. I'm going into the final episode after you and I convene. I will be watching that with the missus. And I love this show. This season has absolutely been the best season. The action has been
All right.
absolutely insane. Some great comedy and all of it too. And I'm like looking at the final episode, and I just can't wait to see how they're going to bring it all to a close.
Have you watched House of the Dragon at all?
Not at all. Nope.
No.
Have you?
Yeah, I've been watching it week to week. Pretty good season. Wasn't thrilled with the finale. It didn't really feel like a finale episode. It felt like what a lot of people were saying. It felt like a first episode, like almost like episode 7 was the finale, and then episode 8 would have been like season 3, episode 1.
You know what? Honestly, since we're not going to review it, and like obviously we're doing what we're doing with the show, like I might wait till season 3 and just like once that starts and then do that.
I think you can. I like the show. I think it's good. I think it's on par with a lot of the stuff from Game of Thrones. It is different because even if it is like 100 years before Game of Thrones or whatever, where everything leads to anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Game of Thrones. So it makes it like a little bit tough there, but there's one really good episode this season, and two really good episodes, I should say.
Okay.
But yeah, I think you're fine holding off on it.
Yeah. I mean, I was already kind of lukewarm on the first season. Like I felt like it was like good, but it just didn't do it for me like Game of Thrones necessarily did. So
it gets better because like my biggest problem was everyone is blonde and has like a similar name. There's Aegon, there's Rhaegon, there's Rhaenyra, there's Rhaenys, there's Rhaenyra. Like all these names are kind of the similar, and they all have blonde hair. And I'm like, I can't tell the difference between
the names are really like that was I think the biggest thing for me. Like like you know what? Now that we're saying this, like I think that was my problem with House of Dragon. They're trying to introduce so many characters at once, and like Thrones, while there were still a lot of characters, things weren't rushed either. So it felt like
But you could be like the Stark guy, but
Yes.
everyone's a Targaryen in this. So it's like,
Yeah.
how do you differentiate it?
It was a lot easier to get to know, not get invested in the characters, because like you can get invested in a character, but like to get to know all, like at least who's who and like the players, because like you said, like the hair does make a different difficulty, and then the names make it difficult. So I have no idea who's with who.
So I had a much easier time going through with the second season, and mostly because too they're older, so like the facial features are a little bit different, where like they're all just kind of like nameless, faceless kids, at that point. But it's like, all right, I get it now. So yeah, it's cool, and they delineate like Aemond and Aegon to Targaryen were very similar, and then one loses an eye. So it's like, okay, now I understand who, like that separates it. Like that's easy for me to pick up there with the eye patch. So yeah, okay, all right, great stuff. And then next week, we are starting our top 5 or Mount Rushmores or top 5s. What do we want to do?
I think we should do top 5s. Yeah, we're starting
top 5s of everything.
Yes, everything that we've done on the show, everything that we haven't gotten to on the show that we wanted to get to. We're going to do this. This is going to be a 2-parter. This is going to be like, this is our Infinity War to our Endgame.
I like that. That's a great way of putting it. Actually, it's very apropos.
Endgame may have some different elements, some more look backs in different ways, but our Infinity War is going to be strictly a dose of top 5s.
Yes, and we will be there. Same bat time, same bat place as always. Be there or be square.